Every level of revolver explained. Each level will have more and more iconic revolvers in firearms history. Level 1, Pawn Shop Specials. These are the revolvers nobody ever thinks about, like the Taurus 85. I mean, who even remembers this one exists? It's like the participation trophy of revolvers. Sure, it works, and yeah, it's affordable, but it's about as memorable as that cousin you only see at Thanksgiving who talks about cryptocurrency the entire time. The Taurus 85 entered the market as a budget-friendly alternative to the Smith Wesson J-frame. It holds 5 rounds of .38 special, weighs about 21 ounces, and looks like every other snub-nosed revolver you've ever ignored at a gun shop. The most exciting thing about this gun is that it exists. Collectors don't care about it, enthusiasts forget it's there, and even Taurus probably had to Google what it looks like before their last shareholders meeting. The most memorable moment? Probably when someone says, "I have a snub-nosed 38, and you ask, which one? And they say, "I don't remember." That's the Taurus 85. Living proof that you can be affordable and reliable and still be completely anonymous. Despite decades of production, this revolver remains invisible to the broader firearms community. Same goes with the Charter Arms Undercover and the Rossi Model in 720. The Undercover has been around since 1964. That's 60 years to make an impression, and it's still perfectly forgettable. And the Rossi? It's a 44 special that looks like it was designed by a committee that got bored halfway through. Both are functional, both work fine, but neither one is keeping you up at night thinking about them. But the next level has a little bit of heat.
Level 2, Budget Carry. The Ruger SP-101 represents this level perfectly. Introduced in 1988, this thing is built like a tank. Seriously, this revolver is over-engineered to the point where you could probably use it to hammer nails, then load it and shoot straight. It's a solid carry gun, reliable as sunrise, and comes in various calibers from .22 LR to .357 Magnum. The SP-101 weighs about 25 to 30 ounces depending on barrel length, which is substantial for a small frame revolver. That weight is there for a reason. Ruger built this to handle full power .357 Magnum loads all day long without shaking itself apart. The grip frame is thick, the cylinder walls are beefy, and everything about it screams overbuilt in the best way. Gun owners respect the SP-101. It's the friend who helps you move furniture. Appreciated, dependable, always there when you need it. But as much as people respect it, nobody's writing songs about it, it's not winning beauty contests, it's not breaking auction records. It's just really, really good at being a revolver. And sometimes that's enough to rise above the truly forgettable guns, but not enough to become legendary. Same goes with the Smith Wesson Model 36 Chief Special and the Colt Detective Special. Both have been at countless movies, carried by actual detectives, and have genuine historical significance. But when someone says favorite revolver, these aren't anyone's first answer.
Level 3, Service Guns. The Smith Wesson Model 10 fits at this level. This is one of the most produced revolvers in history, with over 6 million made since 1899. Let me say that again, 6 million. This gun has been in continuous production for over 120 years. The Model 10 served in World War I, World War II, and the Korean War. It was the standard issue sidearm for police departments across America from the 1950s through the 1980s. If your grandfather was a police officer, there's a very good chance he carried one of these. If you've watched any cop show from the 50s through the 80s, you've seen a Model 10. This gun is woven into the fabric of American law enforcement history. It's chambered in .38 Special, holds 6 rounds, and is about as reliable as gravity. The trigger is smooth, the accuracy is solid, and it just works. Smith & Wesson basically perfected the medium frame revolver design with the Model 10, and then they just kept making it, because why change perfection? But here's the thing. The Model 10 is the reliable workhorse that nobody gets excited about. It's like a Toyota Camry. Millions sold, incredibly reliable, historically significant, but when people dream about revolvers, they're not dreaming about the Model 10. It's the gun that made Smith & Wesson's reputation, but it's not the one on the movie posters. The Ruger Blackhawk and the Colt Cobra also fit here. Both have substance, both have history, but both always play backup to more famous revolvers.
Level 4. Collector's interest. The Colt King Cobra has real heat at this level. The original run, from 1986 to 1992, produced a stainless steel .357 Magnum that was basically built like a tank. It has a full lug barrel, adjustable sights, and that Colt action that people write poetry about. Smooth as butter, crisp brake, and a reset that just feels right. The King Cobra was Colt's answer to the stainless steel revolver market. While other manufacturers were making stainless models, Colt wanted something that could compete with Smith & Wesson's L-frame revolvers, but with that distinctive Colt quality. The full underlug barrel gave it substantial weight, about 42 ounces, which helped manage recoil and made it steady for accurate shooting. What made the King Cobra special was the attention to detail. The trigger pull was smooth in double action and had a light, crisp brake in single action. The sights were excellent. The fit and finish were classic Colt quality. It became popular with competitive shooters and law enforcement officers who wanted something durable and accurate. Then Colt discontinued it in 1992 as semi-automatics took over the market. For years, used King Cobras commanded premium prices. Then in 2019, Colt brought it back with modern manufacturing techniques. The new King Cobra has been extremely well received. Accurate, reliable, and priced competitively. But even with all that going for it, it's still living in the shadow of its more famous sibling, the Python. The King Cobra is the talented younger brother who's really good at everything, but could never quite escape being compared to the family genius. The Ruger Redhawk and the Smith & Wesson Model 629 also live at this level. Same power, won't rust, but somehow not quite as iconic as the blued original.
Level 5. Historical milestones. The Smith & Wesson Model 27 is the father candidate at this level. Introduced in 1935, this was the first .357 Magnum revolver ever made. Not just one of the first, the first. Smith & Wesson literally created the .357 Magnum cartridge and built this gun to chamber it. Here's the story. In the early 1930s, law enforcement wanted more power. Criminals were using cars to escape, wearing body armor, and outgunning police armed with .38 specials. Smith & Wesson worked with ammunition manufacturer Winchester to develop a longer, more powerful cartridge based on the .38 special case. The result was the .357 Magnum, which could push a bullet 500 FPS faster than a .38 special. But they needed a revolver strong enough to handle it. Enter the Model 27. Built on S&W's large end frame, the Model 27 featured a heavy barrel, adjustable sights, and that pre-war Smith & Wesson quality that makes collectors weep. The fit and finish were impeccable. The trigger was fantastic. The accuracy was outstanding. This wasn't just a powerful revolver, it was a beautifully crafted piece of precision machinery. The Model 27 became a status symbol. Law enforcement agencies that could afford them issued Model 27s to their officers. FBI agents carried them. This was the gun serious shooters wanted. For decades, the .357 Magnum was considered the ideal balance of power, accuracy, and controllability, and the Model 27 was the gold standard for chambering it. But the Model 27 has always been the fancy version. In 1954, Smith & Wesson introduced the Model 28 Highway Patrolman, basically a cheaper, less fancy version of the Model 27. The Model 28 had a matte finish instead of the high polish, simpler sights, and cost less. Most departments bought the Model 28 because budgets exist. So the Model 27 remained the if you know revolver. respected by enthusiasts but overshadowed by its own simplified successor. The Ruger Super Red Hawk and the Dan Wesson Model 15 also belong here. Both have passionate cult followings, but neither achieved mainstream legendary status. Level 6, Hall of Fame. The Smith & Wesson Model 19 Combat Magnum has all the ingredients for greatness to be at level 6. Introduced in 1955 based on input from legendary shooter and Border Patrol agent Bill Jordan, the Model 19 was designed as a lighter, faster .357 Magnum that could be carried all day and shot accurately. Bill Jordan wanted something powerful enough to stop threats immediately, but light enough that officers would actually carry it instead of leaving it in their locker. Smith & Wesson answered by building the Model 19 on their medium K-frame instead of the larger N-frame used for the Model 27. The result was a .357 Magnum that weighed about 35 ounces instead of 44 ounces. That might not sound like much, but when you're carrying a gun on your hip for an 8-hour shift, those 9 ounces make a huge difference. The Model 19 became the gun for law enforcement in the 60s and 70s. Police departments across America issued Model 19s. It had the power of the .357 Magnum in a package that was comfortable to carry and shoot. The trigger was fantastic, the accuracy was there, and it just felt right in your hand. The 2.5-inch and 4-inch barrel versions became the standard for plainclothes detectives and uniformed officers respectively. But it wasn't just cops who loved it. The Model 19 saw service in Vietnam with tunnel rats and special operations units who needed a powerful, reliable sidearm for close quarters work. It's been used in competition shooting, where its accuracy and trigger made it a favorite. The blued finish version is beautiful, and the nickel-plated versions look absolutely stunning. The Model 19 had one weakness. Because it was built on the medium K-frame, shooting a steady diet of full-power .357 Magnum loads would eventually cause the forcing cone to crack. Smith & Wesson later addressed this with the L-frame Model 686, but by then semi-automatics were taking over law enforcement anyway. Still, the Model 19 remains highly sought after today, and many consider it the most balanced .357 Magnum ever made. The Smith & Wesson Model 686 and the Ruger GP100 also qualify as all-time greats. Both are legendary in their own right and still in production today because the design just works.
Level 7, Holy Grail. These are the greatest revolvers ever made, and there are 3. The Colt Python, the Smith & Wesson Model 29, and actually, we need to talk about this properly. The Colt Python is pure excellence to be at the top of Level 7. Introduced in 1955, the Python represents the absolute peak of Colt's craftsmanship. Look at this thing. The ventilated rib running along the top of the barrel, the full underlug, the beautiful royal blue finish that looks like liquid midnight, and that trigger. Oh, that trigger! Colt's action has been described as stacking butter with a warm knife. It's smooth, it's precise, and it breaks crisp and clean. The Python isn't just smooth, it's silky. Every gun that left Colt's factory was hand-fitted. Every part was individually matched and adjusted by skilled craftsmen. The timing was perfect, the lockup was tight, every screw was perfectly aligned. This wasn't mass production, this was artisanship. And the accuracy? Scary accurate. Out of the box, a Python could outshoot most custom revolvers. We're talking 1-inch groups at 25 yards if you did your part. The barrel, the cylinder gap, the forcing cone, everything was machined to such tight tolerances that accuracy was basically guaranteed. Combine that with adjustable target sights and the smooth trigger, and you had a revolver that made average shooters look good and good shooters look like champions. But the Python wasn't just about performance, it was about presence. Owning a Python wasn't just about having a great gun, it was about owning a piece of art. This was a status symbol. If you showed up at the range with a Python, people noticed.
If a character in a movie needed to look sophisticated and dangerous, they carried a Python. Ricardo Tubbs in Miami Vice carried one. The gun appeared in countless films and TV shows whenever someone needed to look like they had taste and could afford the best. When Colt discontinued the Python in 1999 due to the cost of hand-fitting each gun, prices immediately skyrocketed. Used Pythons in good condition sold for $2,000 to $3,000. Pristine examples went for $5,000 or more. Colt brought it back in 2020, and while the new ones are excellent and use modern manufacturing to achieve similar quality at a lower price, collectors still obsess over those original hand-fitted models. Now, some of you are already typing in the comments, what about the Model 29? What about the single-action army? Look, the Smith & Wesson Model 29 literally created a cultural phenomenon and made .44 Magnum a household name thanks to Dirty Harry. The Colt single-action army won in the West and has been in production for 150 years. Both are absolute legends, and honestly, any of these three could be number one depending on what you value: craftsmanship, cultural impact, or historical legacy. So let me know in the comments, is the Python really the greatest, or does the throne belong to the Model 29 or the Peacemaker? I guarantee this comment section is about to get spicy.